Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. I'm smiling. I am booming with joy and happiness. Let me get centered here. Just got back. First weekend back in almost 4 weeks. The sun is beaming through my studio window. It is a beautiful day outside. We have had 3 weeks of freezing conditions. So if you guys are planning to come out to South Africa, dress warm, please. It's going to be a cold winter. And I'm looking forward to it. We've got our hunting season opening up at the end of the month. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Guys, quickly, just before we get into this week's episode of the podcast, this week's episode is sponsored by Camera Stuff. If you guys haven't yet, go and check my affiliate link. If you are, guys, looking to upgrade some of your camera gear for the upcoming season, podcast studio lights like this bad boy I've got over here. This is the Godox light I got from them, as well as some marks and some crazy essential items. Like right now we're recording with my Sony FX30 with the newer battery replacements on the battery pack. So yeah, pretty much Ace systems away. So this week's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Camera Stuff. Without further ado, let's get into it. So guys, after having almost a whole week to myself without any social media and just getting away with the family, I've had some time to reflect. And we have made a couple of big calls. But I thought it would be a great topic. When I started this podcast, I always wanted to give back in a sense of giving some advice, some of my experiences that I've had out in the bush, some of my misfortunes or whatever it may be, that young professional hunters or seasoned professional hunters will be able to learn from these mistakes, incorporate them into their own planning and strategic ways of handling their hunting etiquette, but also to deliver for the new and coming African adventurer hunters, guys coming out to do a bit of trophy hunting in South Africa and just experience our beautiful landscapes and our incredible animals, just to give back, give a little bit of advice here and there, and just a great podcast for me to pop on here and talk about everyday life of a professional hunter, experiences, what I've experienced, what sort of advice I can add. Something I haven't shared a lot of, I have done a couple of podcast episodes about my mental health and my journey as far as that's concerned. But something I haven't touched on is the core vision of what stood behind me as a hunter. And that was, I wanted to do what I was incredibly passionate about. And I kind of feel like I lost that passion along the way. It's back now, without a doubt. But with what sacrifices? Do I still love hunting, or has it just become a job? When something you once loved becomes your responsibility, what changes? I've been asking myself something lately. If I've been honest, do I still enjoy hunting the way I used to? Or has it become work? The more responsibilities you carry, the less room there is for pure enjoyment. I want to let that one sink in with you guys. The more responsibility you carry, the less room there is for pure enjoyment. And that became evident in the past couple of years. More precisely when I was hunting as almost like a full-time job, and the money is great. The money was exceptional. We did a lot of incredible things. I got to travel the country. I got to travel parts of South Africa and Africa alike, hunt species I probably will never get the opportunity to ever hunt for myself personally. But the more responsibilities I got in life, family, financial responsibilities, homes, medical aids, that sort of stuff, the less I started enjoying it, because I started chasing the financial repercussions of it, right? So why am I bringing up this topic? Well, in the most recent days, I've had about 8 young men reach out to me, 2 of which have done their professional hunting courses and are looking to get into the hunting industry, and they've struggled. And they've asked me for tips and tricks on how to get into the industry and all that sort of stuff. And the one guy said to me, he said, if it's this difficult as a young professional hunter to get into the industry, how difficult is it to sustain it? And my words were to him, I said, if your heart is in the right place and your ethics and morals stand you well, you will have a very bright career in hunting. And his response to me was, when you say career, you mean short-term vision. It sounds like you just mean like a sportsman's career. And I said to him, I said, that's exactly how I feel about professional hunting. I said, I'm 36 now, and I feel like I'm getting to the end of my career. And that's crazy to think, because when you look at the broader scheme of things, how many great professional hunters are out there that have had successful marriages, that have built family foundations on hunting. But the landscape has changed since then. Number one, those fundamental professional hunters are in the industry for a long period of time when it was good, bad, and ugly. And they've built those strong foundations that will get to carry them through for many, many more years. I myself have only had 16 years in the industry. Now, while this might seem short, it feels like forever. And the thing is, I'm not trying to badmouth professional hunting as a whole. All I'm trying to say is that there have become more responsibilities on the professional hunters. And with those more responsibilities, the enjoyment somewhere along the line gets lost. So one of the first things I always say to youngsters when they reach out to me for a little bit of advice, or whether they want to become a professional hunter or not, is what is the main fundamental on why you want to become a professional hunter? And some of the guys turn back to me and they say, no, well, I hunted with my father back in the day, and hunting's always been my passion. And to try and make them understand that professional hunting is not just hunting. You, at the end of the day, have to become so many different jacks of all trades in there, from travel agents to medical professionals to sometimes shrinks and all that sort of stuff on safari, because clients are always first. Success equals pressure, and financial dependency on hunting is a real thing. Now, what do I mean by those 3 points? Well, clients are always first, always, without a doubt. Never your health. If you're sick on a day, your client still expects you to rock up and head out hunting because he's paid for 10 days to be there, and he wants the best possible guard that can be there. So every single day, you just got to keep rocking up. Success equals pressure. The more success you have in your career, the more pressure you have. That's without a doubt, and it's with every industry. And then financial dependency on hunting. If you are financially dependent on hunting, it's a seasonal dependency. What funds the rest of the year? These are some of the things that you have to take into consideration. Some of the signs that I realized it was just work. You think about logistics more than the moment. Relief after the hunt instead of excitement. You're chasing outcomes and not experiences, and you stop hunting for yourself. Now, to break these 3 points down, you think about logistics more than moments. And I said it time and time again. Professional hunters have had a lot more responsibility put onto their shoulders, from making sure that the clients will arrive and leave safely, making sure that their airport travels are success. They've got the correct paperwork, from rifle paperwork to all the other permits and passes they need to get in and out of countries and all that sort of stuff. Relief after the hunt instead of excitement. It's only ever happened to me a couple of times in my career, and I can remember the hunts quite vividly. And you just like, at the end of it, I'm just so glad he's at the airport safely. Hasn't happened recently, and it hasn't happened for a while, but most of the time, well, a couple of times I've been at that point. You're chasing outcome and not experience. Well, in 2021, can't remember the exact figure, and I know I've said numbers out there before with buffalo hunting and all that sort of stuff, but when clients came in, we had to put as many animals on the ground as possible, and experiences came second, which is not how I want to do things. And you stop hunting for yourself. I remember in that year as well, getting back the one day from lunch, and I would normally take out a pack of meat or something like that to defrost for packed lunches or snacks in the vehicle or whatever the case may be. And I opened up my chest deep freeze like this, and there were only like those 4 ice packs that you keep in your coolers to keep the cooler temperature down. That was all at the bottom of my chest deep freeze, and I was like, normally my deep freezers are always full. And I realized very, very quickly that I wasn't doing this for myself anymore. And straight after that hunt, needless to say, put the rifle straight over my shoulder, and I hit into the mountains. And yeah, I think that's when I realized that my passion was slowly becoming my work, instead of work becoming my passion. Yeah. How do you admit something like this? Well, when it's the life you choose, and I chose that side of the life, I chose gratitude over truth, fear of sounding ungrateful, and I put my identity into hunting. It's gratitude versus truth. I was very grateful for a lot of the experiences I had out in the bush, but I needed to be honest with myself as well. Was this going to be a sustainable way to raise a family now? When my first daughter was born in 2019, my career was booming. Obviously, COVID happened, and we look back at it, and I was like, there were a lot of things that I had the opportunity to shift there and then during COVID and try and come up with a plan B, but I never did. And 2021 came around, and of course, that was one of our busiest seasons I've ever had as a professional hunter. And when I look back at it, I was like, maybe that's where a lot of the connection I lost to reality. And I wasn't honest with myself. I was grateful for what I was experiencing, but I wasn't honest to myself. One of my biggest fears in my life, and I'm a people pleaser, but one of my biggest fears is always sounding ungrateful. And I think even now, recording this podcast, like, I don't want to come across as an ungrateful person about what I've experienced and what I've achieved in my life. I'm very appreciative of the people I've met, the experiences I've had, the bonds, the connections I've had. I never want to sound ungrateful about it. But at the end of the day, it's a hard reality we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, well, was this all part of the plan? And for me, I'm kind of at a position now in my career where I think I can balance it out. Fortunately, with everyone supporting me on my socials and YouTube channels and all that sort of stuff, there's definitely a lot more room for me to balance things out accordingly. But I wish I had learned that a lot sooner, so that I wasn't sitting here in this predicament with a bit of burnout from what was my passion, what is my passion. And I think just even that statement alone, like, what is my passion? Is it the hunting? Is it the killing? Is it interacting with people? Is it all these sort of things? Or if I break it down, conservation is my number one passion in life. I've realized, I mean, there was a video of a leopard taking out a cheetah, and I immediately scrolled past it. And my daughter, who's 7 years old, she's like, "Dad, what are you doing? Why aren't you watching that?" And I'm like, I feel bad for the cheetah. And she's like, "But you kill animals pretty much most of the days throughout the year." And I'm like, yeah, but just because I hunt these animals, it doesn't make it easy for me to watch the death of them. And there was a moment, not pretty recently in my career, where I realized I'm becoming used to this, like used to death. But when I saw that video and I reacted that way, I realized very quickly that I still got a lot of empathy in me, and I feel bad. There's no other way to put it. I don't like killing animals, but so what is that I'm passionate about? How can I be passionate about something that has death related to it? And I think that's exactly it. It's not the death that I'm passionate about. It's the conservation and why such a dramatic and hard thing, probably one of life's biggest fears, is death, and how can that become a passion? And I guess it's because these hard times generate the preservation for future times. And that's what I think I'm so intrigued by, is understanding that by the actions that I'm putting out there in the felt, every single day I do that, the more I do it, the more and more positive impact it has on the greater scheme of things. And I don't think I'll ever lose that passion. Maybe I'm losing the motivation to keep doing it. But I still get moments that remind me of my why. And like I said, that's it throughout. And most recently, I'm very, very fortunate with Zach and them's group and a lot of other groups that have come out, Pat and them, because they're also passionate hunters and they're empathetic hunters and they're great hunters. It also keeps me in check, because you have this standard as a general hunter to look up to, and they fall part of it, and you keep motivating, you bounce that energy off one another, and that's something very, very special. I think in your career there's often these times where fellow hunters come out and you just have that connection. That's why we say come as clients, leave as family, because that's where your connection, that's where your everything gets spoken through. And it's quite a special feeling. It really is. It's just, there's a lot of safe feelings in that. Of course, certain hunts still hit differently, and my passion is definitely not gone. Maybe it's not that I've lost the love. Maybe it's just that I've lost the simplicity of what this is all about. So how do I reframe myself going forward and keep myself motivated? Well, I need to re-evolve my passion. Responsibility doesn't kill the love, it reshapes it. And you may need to create a space to enjoy it again. So I'm going to do a lot more hunting with our clients, maybe leave the camera in the camera bag and go back to the basics, what it's all about. Share those moments and hopefully rekindle that little flame that's inside me. Maybe the real question isn't whether I still enjoy hunting. Maybe it's whether I'm allowing myself to. So maybe it's internal. Maybe I need to understand that it's these battles I have with myself that make me ask the questions. I don't ever want to take what I've learned out in the bush for granted. I don't want to take any of my experiences I've had for granted. I want to cherish them more and more. And this time away has made me realize that very, very quickly. So, I want to leave you guys with 5 key important aspects of what I've learned in the last 2 weeks about understanding your passion and why it shouldn't be work. First thing is find your core belief in what you want to do and why you want to do it. So as a professional hunter, if conservation, ethics, morals, and education is not part of any one of your goals by achieving professional hunter, then I would suggest leave hunting as your passion and rather seek another avenue, because there's a lot of professional hunters out there, majority of them, that still want to preserve and conserve our animals for future generations to come. And the only way we can do that is through good ethics, good morals, and good conservation practices. So you need to understand that. Number 2, financial responsibilities. When it comes to family, you need to understand that time away from them is a currency you cannot earn or buy. You have to be present as much as you possibly can. So when it comes time in your career that you want to start a family, understand what sacrifices you need to take, how you're going to take them, and where you're going to prioritize your life and your time. Because I promise you now, your family is going to be deprived. Either your family or your career is going to be deprived of your time. And unfortunately, it's a very delicate balance. So learn that very early on in your career. And if you can do that going forward and understand where you can balance yourself out, that might just set you apart from the rest of us. And I say us because I'm part of the statistics. I've lost a relationship already. I barely saw my daughter grow up until 4 years old. So it's those mistakes that I've learned that I don't want to learn that I regret. Sorry, I'm muddling up my words. Number 3, I mentioned financial responsibilities. Understand that having a good financial plan going forward is key. It's extremely important. Like I said, hunting is a seasonal thing. You want to make sure that you can sustain yourself through the very quiet and the quiet period, put it that way. Number 4, friendships. Hold friendships very close to your heart. Utilize them when you can. Build new ones within the industry, because that might just set you apart from anyone else, and having those contacts will definitely benefit you as your career progresses. And number 5, look after yourself. And this can look in so many different ways. Enjoy your hunting still. Make time for yourself, whether it's on the shit house or going to go and sit on top of a mountain. Write down your thoughts. Make sure you make time for yourself to think, reflect, and understand who you are as a human being, because there's going to be a lot of growth. There's going to be a lot of anxiety. There's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights. But anyone is capable of doing it with having a good blueprint. Your happiness, for the greater scheme of things, is one of the most important aspects you need to focus on in becoming a good professional hunter, because you keep yourself accountable, you keep showing up correctly on time, you look punctual, and you set yourself apart from anyone else in the industry. So those are very, very important key facts I would highlight and go forward with. I'll maybe even list them down below. Well, guys, that was a very short episode of the podcast, and I don't know how I got all this information into only 20 odd minutes. But anyway, it's good to be back. I'm not going to take any more time off. Hunting season starts at the end of the month. We've already 4 down. I think there's another 4 more hunts to go for my season. And and then I will be not whipping out the camera anytime soon on a hunt. I would like to get a couple just under my belt, and then hopefully more YouTube episodes to come. Another topic we're going to be diving into on this year of the podcast is fishing in South Africa, and I'm excited about that one. So guys, before I start munding my words any longer, I hope you have a blessed weekend, or blessed, this will air on Sunday, so I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. We will keep in touch, and as always, if you are, happy hunting. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. We'll catch up with you guys soon.